Welcome to our CFP exam prep discussion today, where we're diving deep into a crucial investment concept that frequently appears on the exam: dividend dates, with a particular focus on the ex-dividend date. Let's break down this important concept. When a company declares a dividend, there are four key dates you need to understand. The declaration date is when the company announces they'll pay a dividend. The ex-dividend date is when the stock begins trading without the dividend. The record date is when the company checks its records to identify shareholders eligible for the dividend. Finally, the payment date is when shareholders actually receive their dividend. Many CFP candidates get tripped up by the ex-dividend date because it's counterintuitive. Here's what you absolutely must remember. The ex-dividend date is the most critical date for determining who receives the dividend. If you purchase a stock on or after the ex-dividend date, you will not receive the upcoming dividend payment. You must buy the stock before the ex-dividend date to be eligible. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine Apple declares a quarterly dividend of $1 per share. The ex-dividend date is set for March 15th. If you buy Apple stock on March 14th, you will receive the dividend. However, if you wait until March 15th or later to purchase the stock, you won't receive this dividend payment. This is true even though the actual payment might not happen until weeks later. A common mistake I see on the exam is confusion about stock price movements around the ex-dividend date. On the ex-dividend date, the stock price typically drops by approximately the amount of the dividend. This makes perfect sense when you think about it. If a stock is trading at $50 and pays a $2 dividend, it should theoretically open at $48 on the ex-dividend date because that $2 of value is no longer included in the stock price. The exam often includes questions about special situations. For instance, if you sell your stock on the ex-dividend date, you will still receive the dividend even though you no longer own the shares. This surprises many test takers. Another tricky scenario involves dividend reinvestment plans. Even if you choose to reinvest your dividends, the ex-dividend date rules still apply the same way. Here's a pro tip for the exam. Questions about dividend dates often appear in calculation problems. You might need to determine total return or holding period return where dividends are involved. Remember to check the timing of stock purchases against ex-dividend dates to determine which dividends should be included in your calculations. To solidify this concept, think of the ex-dividend date as a cutoff point. Before this date, stock buyers get the dividend. On or after this date, they don't. The stock is literally X or without the dividend. This simple framework will help you tackle most dividend date questions on the exam. Remember to pay attention to the language in exam questions. Terms like entitled to receive the dividend or eligible for the dividend are clues that you need to apply your knowledge of ex-dividend date rules. Don't get distracted by other dates mentioned in the question. The ex-dividend date is your primary focus for determining dividend eligibility. Understanding these dividend date concepts isn't just about passing the exam. It's fundamental knowledge that you'll use throughout your career as a financial planner when helping clients understand their investment income and planning for cash flow needs.